Park Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Booyah! And it's time for the Game Sports Show. It's yours truly, David McCaig. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com, on the website thegamesportshow.com, or on the Scott Nason YouTube channel. It is November the 15th, 2018, and we're here live at Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario for our Thursday edition of the Game Sports Show. I'm going to have Justin Hykel, my usual, come on in just a few moments. And also someone who's returning into the lineup tonight off of vacation, Dane Hanchrow, will be also on deck on the panel tonight. So I'll get the fellas in just a few moments. Just going to get through the usual introduction portion of the Game Sports Show here at the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show. We kind of have a fun format here today, a little bit of a different format. It's going to be the patented quick and dirty edition of the Game Sports Show here tonight, as we're going to be discussing mostly the National Hockey League, and if we have some time, we're going to be jumping into the roundtable discussion where we talk about baseball or variety of sports. We're actually going to leave the local sports for our bonus upload. We're going to have a bonus upload on Sunday night that will be powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company and the new sports bar in town, Icebreakers, that will be opening very soon. So we're going to have a special edition where Brad Cochimilio will be coming by, and perhaps maybe one of or both Justin and Dane may be in attendance as well. But we'll be discussing the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and the Sioux Thunderbirds in that edition upload, which will be on Sunday night or by the latest Monday morning. So here for this edition, we're going to be talking about the National Hockey League, where we have a lot to talk about and a lot of fun topics we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Sebastian Aho, Patrick Laine, or Jesse Puljujarvi. Which one is going to be the best at the term of NHL career? We're going to talk about William Nylander, whose contract is still at a standstill, and the Leafs have until December the 1st to get something done there. The Tanner Pearson-Carl Hagelin trade, and we're going to be talking about injuries in the National Hockey League. They have been coming in bunches, literally dropping like flies, with Vasilevsky, PK Subban, Cam Fowler, Sidney Crosby, just to name a few injuries that just went down this week. Also with Joe Bowen getting inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame, along with the Hockey Hall of Fame inductees discussion. And we're also going to talk about the NHL in terms of updates in the standings, some power rankings, and some just roundtable reaction within the first 20 games of the National Hockey League. We're actually in exactly 18 games, but we're almost at the quarter point of the NHL season, and so we're going to go around the table to discuss what team is surprising, what team is underachieving, team is overachieving, teams that are playing as expected, and etc. So, and we're also going to discuss, as I mentioned at the top there, a little bit of baseball if that comes around to it. Also, we'll discuss a little roundtable if we have the time as well here on this quick and dirty edition of the Game Sports Show, powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company. Now, you can listen to the Game Sports Show and previous editions of the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com or on the Scott Nason YouTube channel. And if you're on the website, don't hesitate to veer over to the merchandise section, where you can purchase a t-shirt for $25 with proceeds going towards Big Brother, Big Sister, and Northern Critters in Need. And you can also follow the Game Sports Show on Facebook, and make sure you keep an eye on that Facebook page as you have a chance to win the weekly trivia as we upload each week, which will be powered by one of our sponsors for a prize giveaway. And also, don't be shy to follow our Instagram page at The Game Sports Show SSM. Now, without further ado, I'm going to slide over to the fellas to introduce them. I'm going to go over to Justin first. Justin, how you doing, my friend?
Not bad. It's been a tough week with the Leafs on the Western Road swing, so trying to stay up late, but spent more time looking at the inside of my eyelids.
Inside your... Okay. Like that. You actually didn't say you had bells on today.
No bells.
No bells. Definitely the late schedule for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know the Leaf fans are going to have to get their Tim Hortons coffee like you did to get all set to watch, and they are in action against San Jose later tonight. And we're going to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs in a good amount here on this edition, so we'll save the continuous Leaf chat for just a few moments. I'm going to slide over to Dane Hanchrow. Welcome back to my roommate and panel member, friend, Dane Hanchrow. Pal, welcome back.
It's good to be back, buddy, after a 6-month hiatus. It's finally good to see the boys again and do the show.
Yeah, I think we expected you to be back. It was October is what we were predicting, but then you had quite the busy summer down in Red Lake. Let's just put it that way. You're traveling to BC. You're probably traveling to other places that you don't want to disclose on the air and doing a lot of things, fighting fires, having a good time, making some good money down there, which is a good job to the firefighters this year with the M&R doing the forest fires this year, as it was quite the busy year. And prayers go out to California as well with that. It's definitely insane what's going on in the California there, as that was shown on Sportsnet there when Toronto was playing LA the other night, and that thumping that Toronto gave to the Los Angeles Kings. Now, fellas, before we get into our NHL topics, I must state again that we're going to have a bonus upload. They'll be uploaded either Sunday night or Monday morning for a bonus upload powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company and the new sports bar in town, Icebreakers, where we'll be having our special edition shows on the weekend, which will feature the Sioux Thunderbirds, the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, NOJHL and OHL in terms of general, and just some bonus content that we'll be providing to our listeners. So to get to that, before we actually jump into the NHL news I said we're going to discuss in the variety of sports talk, I'm going to give a little plug here to the Sioux Thunderbirds, whom are currently in action against the Blind River Beavers right now as we speak here at North Superior Brewing Company. They are playing against Blind River at home here on this Thursday night, and the Sioux Thunderbirds had a weekend last weekend where they defeated Rayside Balfour in a shootout, and that was definitely a good game by the Sioux Thunderbirds there. The shootout, not always a big fan of the shootout, to be totally honest. I really feel that the shootout is not always the best way to end the game, especially if you're on the losing end of it. However, the Sioux Thunderbirds do pull away with a win. And just an update with the standings going into action tonight. The Sioux Thunderbirds are 15-5-0 with their 30 points in only 20 games. Rayside is in second and have 29 points in 25 games. But Blind River is in third with 27 points in 23 games. Name the top three there. The Sioux Eagles are in fifth in the division with a 9-13 record with 18 games. Now, the Sioux Thunderbirds, as I mentioned, are 5 games behind, I apologize, in comparison to Rayside, whom is in second. So there are a lot of games to catch up if you are the Sioux Thunderbirds indeed. So they can capitalize on all those makeup games and continuously try to trend forward to try to pull away in the Western Division. In the Eastern side, Powassan still leads the way with a 17-6-1 record, with Kirkland Lake in second place right behind them, and the Timmins Rock, who we saw back here in the Sioux just a couple weeks ago, as they are 14-9-1-0 for 29 points. In a Western Division that's actually pretty tight and very competitive. A lot of scouts and a lot of experts in the area have predicted that Kirkland Lake may be the team pulling away, but Powassan definitely playing some good hockey there in the Eastern Division. And as I mentioned, the Sioux Thunderbirds are in action against Blind River right now. This weekend, November the 17th, the Sioux is against Blind River in Blind River. So it'll be a home and home. And then they return home on Thursday, November the 22nd at 7 p.m. And that is where the Game Sports Show plans to be in attendance. That does conflict with our Northern Superior Brewing show for next week. We're going to try and make arrangements where we might be potentially on location for that show, for that game between Espanola and the Sioux Thunderbirds. So moving forward with this local hockey here in Sault Ste. Marie, there's going to the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and as we talked about on the Monday edition of the Game Sports Show live from the Wicked Sister, the Hounds had a pretty tough weekend last weekend, losing 4-2 to Flint, and they also lost 5-3 to Saginaw, so going 0-2 on that road trip. Especially Flint is the game that people would like for the Hounds to have back, to try to get back. That's a loss, but that you definitely don't want to have. However, Flint has won a couple games in a row in the last little bit, so they are trying to get back into things, but they're having the start that they had. The Hounds are definitely a team that is better than Flint is. So those are the type of games that you go back and say, dang, if you don't finish first in the conference or the division, those are games you go, those are the ones that slipped away from you for sure. But the Sioux Greyhounds are in action this weekend, and that will be tomorrow, which is Friday, November the 16th. It'll be a very good hockey game. The Ottawa 67s will be visiting the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound at the GFL Memorial Gardens. Scott Nason will be on location here for the Game Sports Show for that game. And on Sunday, the Greyhounds play host to the Windsor Spitfires, as yours truly plans to be on location for that game as well. So a lot of hockey this weekend. If you are in Sault Ste. Marie, as always, a lot of entertainment. So get out to enjoy the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds as they host the Ottawa 67s and the Windsor Spitfires. And if you have nothing to do on Saturday, and you want to drive on down the hour and 15 to an hour and a half down to Blind River Community Center to go watch the Sault Thunderbirds, I definitely encourage that, as it's always an encouraging atmosphere there in Blind River. Then, as I mentioned, we'll have a bonus upload on Sunday night or Monday morning with myself, Brad Cochimilio, and potentially Dane and Justin for the local hockey roundup for the Sault Thunderbirds and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, as Brad was unable to come on by here tonight. So, fellas, without further ado, let's get into the topics that we discussed. I want to jump right into it with the injuries in the National Hockey League. Okay, we've had some injuries come up. We have Andrei Vasilevsky, who has a left foot fracture, out indefinitely. PK Subban injury, out indefinitely as well. You have Cam Fowler has a facial injury that he's going to be out for quite some time. Sidney Crosby will be out for about a week, and everyone, including Jim Rutherford, is stressing that it's only a week and it's not a concussion. I don't really believe it, to be honest with you. I'm going to flat out say that I don't really believe it. But the injuries are definitely coming in bunches in the National Hockey League. Now, is this just a coincidence? And then, Dane, I'm going to go over to you to lead it off. Is it just a coincidence, or are these players maybe just put in bad situations? Are they overworked? Or is it just injuries that are just happening? It's a part of the game.
I think it's just mostly coincidence. If you look at most of these guys, there aren't like players that have recurring injuries other than Crosby, but I don't think it is concussion related, as Jim Rutherford has already came out and said. So I think it's just coincidence, just part of the game. People get injured. It seems like a lot of star players and goalies are going out. I think if you look at Tampa, Domingue is going to have to kind of pick up his socks if they kind of want to sit on the top of their division still. Losing your goalie is not easy, and he's not really playing good enough even as a backup. And I know Tampa has all the firepower in the world, but if I'm going to look at any of those injuries and see the one that's going to maybe affect the team the most in the long run, like Vasilevsky's out for probably 2 months with a fractured foot, so that's the guy that they got to run with for the next 2 months. Maybe they go out shopping, but I don't know. You look at teams like Pittsburgh, they've done it without Crosby how many times, and still been a very good hockey team. So if you're going to look at any injury, I think you want to look at that Tampa one, and maybe they have to go shopping for a goalie. Speaking
of goalies need to be shopping, I've said this last week that LA may be hungry because you saw Justin with Elisa played them earlier in the week, and I'm not saying goaltending was the problem, as Cal Peterson came in substitute for Peter Budaj and actually did a pretty decent job in goal there. I think LA is just kind of in the, as we would say on the show, the dumpster fire in terms of confidence, and Drew Doughty has come out to say how embarrassing it is so far at the beginning of the year, but we're going to transition to more of that a bit later on. Talking about the injuries here, they're goalie hungry. They've lost Quick. They lost Campbell. Peter Budaj doesn't look like the Peter Budaj they had a couple years ago that came in for Quick. You have Cal Peterson playing. That's their fourth or fifth goalie, whatever you want to consider him as. People do consider him as fourth in the depth chart. Now, LA going into this year, they didn't have expectation of having Cal Peterson be the guy they're putting in on a nightly basis for a little bit. So now you got to look at Tampa Bay. They have Domingue, who, let's be real and flat on this table, that he was absolutely fucked around in Arizona. That's the term I want to say. And he goes and gets a chance in Tampa Bay. He had pretty decent showing last year as a backup as when he got the opportunity in Tampa. Now this year hasn't been as good, but I could not agree with Dane more about how I feel where the most injury stands out more. I would definitely have to say Vasilevsky. When you lose a number one guy, that is huge. And how Kari Lehtinen is still sitting at home right now is what floors me, when LA knows they've lost a goalie about a week ago. Okay, and I know LA's in a cap crunch, and so is Tampa, but this is 1 year. Kari Lehtinen's looking for a very cheap deal. He's a 34-year-old goalie who had a decent year last year. Okay, and he's also a goalie who's been the second overall pick back in 2002. And he's a goalie who can get the job done temporary for you. And when Vasilevsky or when Quick comes back, maybe the Kings or Lightning are in a better predicament. So I couldn't agree more with Dane about what injury stands out the most, even though Subban and Fowler are some big losses. Crosby, it's not really a loss because apparently it's only a week. You don't want that to be more than a week, especially if it's a concussion. We certainly hope that isn't the case, but kind of suspicious that they won't disclose what the upper body injury is. But Justin, talking about the injuries, which one stands out to you more? And just get a comment about the injuries going around the National Hockey League.
I mean, I think the Subban one kind of snuck up. Like, I didn't hear anything about that, even Leafs lunch today. I didn't really hear a whole lot. And then all of a sudden, 2 hours ago, they said they put him on the IR. I knew Arvidsson was hurt. Maybe it's just the influx of injury news this week, and I missed that one. But I definitely agree with your point on the goaltenders. I mean, the goalies went down like flies this week. Like, Bobrovsky's out; he's got the flu.
Yeah.
Even the beginning of the season, though, Carolina's both their goalies were hurt. That's how McElhinney ended up there.
Yeah.
Philadelphia has had goalie issues. That's how Pickard ended up there. Like, I think it's been a rough start to the year for goalies.
It has. And you got Tuukka Rask, who is now, that's not injury-based, that's personal leave that hasn't really even been fully 100% confirmed, but still goalies are just dropping like flies.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, it's probably 2 at least of the top 5 fantasy goaltenders are hurt right now. One other presumed, would be a top 5 fantasy goaltender is lost in his own head in Montreal. I mean, it's an interesting year as far as goaltending goes. Maybe it's the equipment change and these guys are just seeing a little more wear and tear. I don't know, but
it's kind of hard to
Dane
see.
said, it's rough to lose your goalie at it right now or any point in the season.
I can't recall a season like this that started where you had goalies go down as quickly as they have. And look at Nashville. You've got PK's injury. You have Victor Arvidsson, who also went down 6 to 8 weeks, who's not a goalie, but there's a broken thumb. And Nashville has the best record in the National Hockey League currently, 13-4-1. So, you may highlight Vasilevsky being the big doom for Tampa Bay, but when you start losing guys like Subban and Arvidsson, who are pretty core players for the National Predators, that can hurt. But you have Pekka Rinne in that. You have Johansson. You have guys up there that can fill in for those roles. For Fowler, they have Manson. They have certain defensemen back there. They have a lot of defensemen back there who can get the job done in Anaheim. So and they have been doing decent even without Corey Perry in the lineup, who we can't forget started the year on injured reserve, who's out for the first 5 months. So the injuries around the National Hockey League, I do kind of concern me in terms of safety for the players if they are overworked or there's something with equipment. But again, it's still kind of hard to say that is the reason. You had players back not 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that used to get banged against the boards harder than what they do now. It's just the goalies, it's just bad timing to be a goaltender. And if you're a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, if Edric Anderson went down, you'd be shaking in your boots. If Cam Talbot went down for the Edmonton Oilers, I don't know if that's a big shake in your boots, but I'm sure it'd be a little bit of a shake in the boots.
I think he's losing his job as the starting goaltender as we speak anyway. So we'll see how Koskinen's play turns out on the Battle of Alberta on Saturday night. Hoping he's getting the nod. And Cam Talbot's had time and again to prove himself in the last 2 years, and he just hasn't been the goalie that he was when we went to the playoffs in 2016. So it might be Mikko Koskinen time. Might be time to go get a jersey there. So
see, you know what? The one thing that stands out to me, speaking of injuries, look at Carey Price. Look how he's been in net. Like, he hasn't had the best of all years this year so far, and even Montreal's success rate so far.
And the team around him has been okay.
Yeah, it has been. And now Anthony Niemi, goes in net, and he's actually been okay when he has to be. And if you really notice, and I got to give credit to Jim Houston for even noticing this on the first game when Toronto played Montreal, Carey Price's stance is completely different because of his groin injury. He doesn't go down as far in the splits. He doesn't his body is getting worn out, and he's still not that old. When Martin Brodeur was his age, I don't remember Martin Brodeur having the same injury that he had, don't get me wrong, but the goalies were in better shape, I feel, in the older days.
Marty never played the butterfly style, though, so that being said, he wasn't probably stressing his groin area as much as Carey Price is. But
his equipment was also probably double the size. So I don't think your knees are getting nearly as much wear and tear as to Dane's point, to compare Brodeur's style against Price's style is
Two different things. But you could still see the difference in his stance, how he had to change. That wasn't even an option. He had to change it.
You have to think of the reaction time of the goalies is a lot quicker than it had to have been back in the day. Whereas you're probably, making that striding out a little bit farther than you should, where you might be pulling something or tearing something. Whereas I think, back in the day you weren't, flying across the crease as much as goalies are now with like the speed of the game. So I think, that is just kind of, in the end, that's just going to make more injuries happen. I think when you're not, as aware of where you're like positioning your body on the ice and you're just kind of flying all around the place to try to stop the puck because the game has got so fast. So maybe that has something to do with it. But
yeah,
I think sometimes too we kind of forget how Carey Price isn't exactly young anymore. I caught myself doing this the other day. I was watching the ticker came across and they were talking about Halak was playing back-to-back games for Boston. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, wow, Halak, playing back-to-back games. That's pretty good. He's been around for a while. Yep. And then you think about it and you're like, wait a minute. Montreal went through that toss-up with Carey Price, Halak.
Yeah.
So to think that one guy is a little long in the tooth, even though he's really not, and to still think Carey Price is this, Canada's poster child for gold medal winning teams, he's getting up there too. And people wear and tear differently. Price, Montreal rode him into the ground pretty hard for a while.
Yeah, they did. Now, the injuries with goalies, it's definitely, as Dan said, though, I think it's agreeable to say around the table that it's a loss for Tampa right now. And I think if Domingue doesn't, I think they might be heavy hitters and trying to make a deal or trying to get someone because they don't want to start slipping. Because right now they're already 12-5. And if the Leafs win tonight, they are up there in the division with Tampa. So I know it's still early. There were only 19 games into the season. We still have an 82-game season to go.
I think it depends, once they find out more on, what the extent of Vasilevsky's injury is. Then that's kind of maybe when you start thinking about making a trade. But I think you give Dominguez a chance. The guy's only played 5 games. His stats aren't unreal. Like an 880 save percentage, 3.5 goals against average. But I mean, it's early in the season, get settled in. May go on a run, and you never know. You might take off, and be like a couple of those backup goaltenders the Vegas Knights had last year at the start of the season.
That's what LA's doing, and it has not worked. It's not worked.
The complete opposite of what the Vegas Knights did last year. The goalies are playing the complete opposite, anyways.
Being a goalie on Tampa too has the luxury of your team being able to get into one of those scoring matches like Toronto can. You can get into a game where you let in 6, but as long as you don't let in 7. You can still pull out the win for your team. So, I feel like he's in the best situation of some of the backup goalies out there right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, and you got like I said before, if Anderson went down and the Leafs had to go to Sparks, I'd be shaking in my boots.
I don't think it'd be that bad. I think the more pressure Sparks has on him, the better he's going to play.
Points. Gentlemen, we got one more point I'm going to bring up before we go to break. When we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the topics that we have because we're only going to have one commercial break on the show. We plan to only be talking for about 45 minutes, definitely under an hour here. As I mentioned, we have a special edition upload this weekend that will connect to this edition of the Game Sports Show. Dave McCaig alongside Justin Hykel and the return of Dane Hanchrow. That's what I'm going to call this edition to the panel here, as we sit here at Northern Superior Brewing Company. Thanks, Justin, a little giggle for me. But I want to go into the topic about Sebastian Aho, Laine, and Puljujarvi. Okay, Dan, I want to jump into that. It's your topic. In honor of you being back, we'll jump into yours before we go to our break. I'm going to let you address what the topic is. I don't want to steal the words into your mouth. What do you want to discuss with these 3 Finnish young studs?
Well, I think it's
2 of them are studs.
Their third season in the NHL. I think Aho and Puljujarvi have been up and down, but at least Laine is third full season in the NHL. If you look right now, I think they're all in a lot of different places than you think they would be right now. With Sebastian Aho really lighting it up at the tail end of last year and bringing that back into this year, and clearly is, right now is playing better than, the other 2 line mates that he played with that pretty much single-handedly won Finland the gold medal at the World Junior Championship in 2016. So my question is to you guys is, right now looking at the players, who do you think at the end of their career will have, maybe the most successful career, whether it's point-wise or, I think we would just, we'll go
with the prediction
we'll just go
route
into
on this.
personal kind of
End of their career, you're saying.
end of the career. Who do you think will be, the best of the player? Do you think, Puljujarvi's ever going to be, an NHL kind of guy being up and down in the lineup right now? He looks lost in Edmonton to me.
So did somebody else.
And then Patrick Laine is not exactly lighting the lamp right now. I think has 5 goals in his last 5 games. Hat trick against Minnesota, I want to say, a couple
in
a week ago.
Finland.
In Finland, yeah. So
that was against Florida.
Maybe,
that was against Florida.
Yeah. So maybe that's the TSN turning point for Patrick Laine there. But so yeah, just my question to you guys. Kind of, what do you think of the 3 Finns? The future of Finland.
Justin, I'll slide over to you first to answer this topic. Definitely an interesting topic to bring to the table, eh?
I'm really tossed up just between Aho and Laine. I mean, Puljujarvi in Edmonton. I feel like if he gets a change of scenery,
I think he's almost at the point where it's like a Nail Yakupov situation where we tried to slot him into a bunch of areas up and down the lineup, and he has moments of brilliance out there where he looks like that 3rd overall pick, but at the same time, like, there's a lot of the game, like 80%, 90% of the game where he does look lost out there, and I would even relate him to like Nail Yakupov, not in the sense that they're the similar kind of player, like they're definitely different kind of players.
But is the coaching staff? Because what I feel with him,
he should have
with
started.
Jesse or Nail?
With Jesse is that the coaching staff doesn't have a lot of faith in him. They're not letting him.
If you didn't have faith in them, he should have started the year in the AHL.
No, but they're trying to tell him to play this type of game. They want you to play this type, and that's not his style.
That worked for one player, Nazem Kadri. When Babcock took over to try to revitalize his career.
You have to kind of put him with a coach that's going to let him.
But Nazem Kadri was in the NHL
and different
already
player.
Found his game before he was told that, this is a different.
You got to change or you're done.
But the thing is, Kadri had the luxury of coming from a professional system in junior. Like the London Knights are ran almost like an NHL team as far as
Hunter.
As far as the team goes. So he already had experience going into, coaches that might try to mold you into something else. But we're getting a little off topic there. I think as far as the ceiling goes, I think if we're looking at this 15 years down the road, I still think it's Laine. I think he's made strides every season. And he's not scoring right now. But if you listen to Paul Maurice talk about that guy right now,
especially with their interview last year, Dane,
he blows about him. And yeah, he's not putting up a lot of goals right now, but the stuff you see him doing on the ice, like he makes a lot, like he's passing a lot now. He's getting into his defensive game a little bit now. I think Aho's success really depends on the roster around him. And if there's not a lot of coaching turmoil in Carolina or wherever he's playing, then I think that's going to dictate his success. But what seems to be working after Carolina got rid of Bill Peters helped Aho kind of ascend as far as his scoring, his offensive abilities, and just his faith in the coaching staff. Like, there's the faith the coaching staff has in him.
See,
and I mean, maybe this is just a theme that we're seeing here, but the team that seems to have the most turmoil also that player isn't going to have the most success. Like Winnipeg, I mean, year after year, they've come out and they've exceeded
they look good in the future too. They look good in the future.
Yeah, they're rock solid. Like that lineup is. Yeah, they're a good.
They're young. Team. They're a good squad.
I watched them beat the shit out of Washington last night. Like,
I think I'll transition over here now, and I'll say that I'm actually pretty. I don't think this is a clear-cut choice, as maybe people think. It's not Puljujarvi. I really don't think so. I really think that he needs to be moved, and I think Edmonton should have not drafted him. And I even said that if Nail Yakupov was on a different team when he started, I think that his NHL career would be different as well. I'm not chirping the Oilers on that. It was just a bad
Dallas
time.
Eakins horrible.
Yeah, it was bad. But
that's why Dallas Eakins is never going to be a head coach in the NHL ever.
That's why I think Jesse is in a position of, I think if he was moved, I think Edmonton should move him in terms of getting the best value for what he is now.
I think if he gets called up again and doesn't perform after his stint in the AHL and he gets sent back down, I think you have no other choice than to have to trade him.
Trade him, or does he leave the NHL?
Well, he's not Russian. Like I don't think he doesn't have that ties with the KHL. But I mean, I think a change of scenery. Like you look at a guy like Max Domi. Like I mean, Max Domi actually put up NHL numbers and was a good player in Arizona for a while. But in his first year. But had a very off year last year. Like I don't even think he got 10 goals last year. And you look at him now playing in Montreal, and sometimes that's all it takes.
He loves it too there right now. He's loving hockey again. And that's the big point too.
As far as Domi, it looks like the team showed that they had confidence in him, and that's all the player needed.
Yeah.
As far he's a changed from you watch interviews with him in Arizona last year, and it's like talking to any of us when we're at work. You know, like, how's your day going? Terrible. I'm at work. How's your day going at 5 o'clock when you're at the beer store? Excellent. I'm at the beer store.
Yeah.
You know, and he's having fun in Montreal.
Yeah.
And maybe Arizona is just where careers go to die. Because I thought,
but Jesse needs to get moved. Laine and Aho are tight. I think Aho's going to have a good NHL career. I really think he's going to. I think Carolina's on the upswing. They have young guys there. They're in that transition. I still think, though, that Laine is going to be the one to better at the end of his hockey career. But not by much, though. It will not be by like 700 points. It won't be by 500 points. It'll be by about 200 points at the most. And that'll be because Laine will have a couple more big goal-wise seasons. Aho and Laine are two different hockey players, in my opinion. Aho will pass the puck first, when Laine will shoot the puck first. So that I think they'd actually be good together, and it'd be awesome to see them play together one year if Winnipeg was ever able to go down that road. But I don't think Carolina nor is Winnipeg going to move any of those two guys. So at the end of the day, this is going to be tight, but you got to go Laine.
Dane, honestly, I think a telling tale will be, let's watch Sebastian Aho play some NHL playoff hockey. Laine and Ehlers last year were god awful in the playoffs last year, non-existent. I think if those guys could have stepped up, maybe Winnipeg's your Stanley Cup champions. I think
Imagine that last year.
I don't want to put a lot of blame on two young players like that, but I think as last year on the run that they went on, you're playing Vegas, and I think Vegas is the team that we all thought they were going to be this year. They may start going on a run again, but I think they were just playing on a high of, nobody, the world being against them kind of thing. And I think that line really separated the two teams in the sense that, that's the reason they lost in 5 games. And, but I honest to God, I think Aho is more of a complete player. Got to watch him play a couple games this year. Small sample size. I think obviously Laine has definitely been the more decorated player, if you want to call it
second overall pick, right? You get that. You get Winnipeg, Carolina too. It's no offense, Carolina, but
it's a toss up between Laine and Aho. But I'll say I would not be surprised if Sebastian Aho ends up being the best out of those 3 players. And when the other 2 were 2 and 3 in the draft, and he was like 35th or something.
4 wasn't Jesse 4?
Or 4, yeah.
Jesse was 4. Because Pierre Dubois.
Yeah.
Hey, but Edmonton should have traded that pick. But we won't get into that. We will not. We're not going to trip the Oilers here.
Should have done a lot of things.
That's another problem.
We should revisit this even in the trade deadline, just to see where numbers are.
We could. We'll mark that into the calendars. I'll tell producer Ghost to get that done. Fellas, quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about William Nylander. We're going to talk about some Toronto Maple Leafs news. We are going to talk about Joe Bowen getting inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame and a little bit more bonus news in terms of the National Hockey League standings where we are today. Who surprises you? Who's underachieving? Who's overachieving? I guess that connects to surprising. And also who's meeting expectations before we conclude our edition here tonight. It's Dave McCaig alongside Dane Hanchrow, Justin Hykel live from Northern Superior Brewing Company. When we come back, got some more news for you. Don't go anywhere.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pilling Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Hi, it's Craig Hartsburg, former NHL player and NHL coach. Welcome to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McCaig, alongside Justin Hykel and Dane Hanchrow. We're live at Northern Superior Brewing Company here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario for our Thursday edition of the Game Sports Show. You're listening to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show on the Podbean page, YouTube channel, or through the website or Facebook page. Justin, Dane, we're going to jump right into the Maple Leaf discussion with William Nylander's contract still at a standstill and a little bit of Leafs discussion. Before we let Justin go, because he is leaving a little bit earlier tonight, then Dane and I will conclude our show. And diving right into that, William Nylander is still without a contract. He has until December 1st to have it. There was somebody today at work, where I work at, Surrey Hospital, one of my superiors asked me, is it number one, he sits the entire year, number two, he signs, or three, he gets traded? And when he said the first one that he sits, I actually thought about it for a second. And I don't know why. It made me think of how this is going, because if he's getting signed, it would have been done now, I think. I almost think it would have. If he's getting traded, I think that's the most reasonable way to go, because I think when you work out this type of trade, you have to have a sign and trade. Essentially, the team that he's going to, he is signing a contract with. A team is not going to give up let's for example, let's say you're going to go to the route of the Minnesota Wild. If they're going to give up Matt Dumba and give up a prospect or whatever it may be, you're signing William Nylander. If you're going to the Edmonton Oilers, which is not a real rumor, but I'm saying if you're getting Darnell Nurse and Jesse Puljujarvi, and you're doing something with that, you are signing William Nylander. If you're getting Jake Muzzin, and I don't think the Kings are really in it anymore after their trade with Pittsburgh. I think that's the one player maybe Toronto will try to pry was Tanner Pearson. But just examples, I think if you're going to get a player, you're getting a player that has a contract that's a little bit younger and that you know where Nylander's going, that he is going to sign there. So Justin, I'm going to go over to you. We're talking about William Nylander. What's going on here, man? We've been talking about this all summer. We've been talking about it every week. We bring it up. We brought up trade scenarios last week, how we thought it was going to happen. We've been refreshing our social media page to see something, but nothing has happened yet.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest issue with this whole situation is that Nylander, I mean, we're taking everything we've heard in the media as fact or loose facts, whatever you want to call it.
Because we haven't heard anything from William or from Dubas's mouth, right?
No, not at all. It's been.
And I wish I could reach Kyle to get a little comment, but I'm sure he wouldn't even give me what I want to hear. So.
Well, even Don Waddell, the Carolina Hurricanes manager, said today that he's talked to Kyle Dubas. Kyle Dubas wants to sign him, and that's the biggest rumor is that
Carolina is all in. Carolina's all in.
And I mean. Go back to our Aho conversation, that would really help him out. But as far as the Nylander thing goes, he valued himself, from what we're hearing, I'm worth $2 million more than David Pastrnak. Okay, so if you're worth $2 million more than him, and the way Pasternak's been playing so far this season, you don't got that. What have you done in your career so far that's looked like that? Because you haven't. You know, like, it's not, like, Nylander hasn't, like, he hasn't commanded the ice like that. He hasn't put a team on his shoulders at any point. And he's the longest tenured, I believe, of the young guns so far, because he was there the season before.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Because
was.
they brought him up after the Peter Horachuk disaster of the season.
See, David Pastrnak, okay, and that's a very interesting point. Pastrnak has 17 goals in 18 games, 8 assists for 25 points. He had 80 points and 70 points, respectively, in his career so far. In his first 2 years, he had only 46 games where he had 27, and in 51 games, he had 26. So he was on pace for about 49 on that 51-game season, maybe 41, something around that area. The 46 game in his first year, he was on pace for potentially about 50 as well. Nylander hit 60 last year, but how he thinks he could be a 34-goal scorer and a 36 assist guy is potentially a thing, but he has not reached that yet.
Well, and where we're at, and kind of not just the NHL, but the world of sports, is you're either going to get paid or you're going to win championships. So what do you want to do? Do you want to be an athlete for money, or do you want to be an athlete because you want ultimate success? You know,
he can get money. He will get money eventually.
He could get money, but what they have to understand right now, and what you're seeing, there's a new shift in the teams. Like, we're past the point in the NHL where we're paying you for what you did. Because Chicago's fucked right now for paying those guys for what they did, and they've done jack shit for them since, really.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, what guy in any sport has performed big after a huge contract?
61 points he had in his last 2 years. He had 13 in his first year in 22 games.
And, like, Chicago's crippled. LA's crippled. Dubas is looking at this going, well, if I start paying these guys, and then, you know, if I'm looking at a long-term success plan here, we can't do it. So you either got to buy into this model, and Boston got Pastrnak nailed down. Cheap. Because I'm assuming because he wants to win a championship. He drank the Kool-Aid, whatever they told him that Boston was going to do. We're going to build a team around you. We're going to do whatever. I mean, Nylander's got to look at this situation in Toronto and go, well, I mean, the team's there. I just got to show up.
You know what Pasternak's making his contract? He's locked up a 6-year deal last year. He's making cap hit of 5.1. How the heck did Boston wheel that deal?
Well, and the other thing you got to think with this Nylander-Toronto situation.
Sorry, cap hit 6.6. Yeah, it's 6.66. Sorry, I'm getting the tap. No, it's 6.66, which is still very cheap. Sorry, it is still cheap.
Nylander hasn't stepped foot in North America, as far as we know, since sometime this summer when he was Instagramming boat pictures all over the place.
And he's doing the kiki hiding with golfing.
And he's on insurance commercials on the TV, so he's getting paid. You imagine if you signed your contract and showed up to work, the other endorsement deals you'd be getting? Like, you're going to get the money. Okay, I want $8 million. Okay, we'll show up and play hockey for $5 million, and then Sport Check's going to give you another $1 million for the 10-year of your contract to take pictures with shoes on. And then Mr. Lube's going to pay you. Or the Phil Kessel hot dog stand gets a new face, so they're going to pay you.
Yeah.
Like, you got to look at the big picture. And maybe he's just one of these players that I know there's a max on my skill level, and so I got to get paid before people figure that out.
How you got to think Carolina's the front runners with that though. They are so hungry for him. And I heard Minnesota is too, but Carolina wants him. They?
Because that's what the media is telling us, but every time I've heard an interview with the general manager, he's just, it is what it is. Dubas wants to sign him. Maybe this is just all, these talking through the media and everything else.
You actually know what's nice about this too, to think about it? You know who needs a contract next year? Auston Matthews. Mitch Marner. This is pulling all that attention away from them too. Well, no one's really talking about Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner's contract yet.
But like I said, I think it was last week's show, that you hear through the media, well, no conversations are currently being had. Like I said, what are the chances that Marner's deal is already done?
Oh, he's getting more than what we thought.
They're just waiting to announce it until this Nylander thing is over.
Because what's Nylander think he's comparison to him?
Well, that's exactly it. But Marner, again, has come out, put the team on his back at times when Matthews has been hurt.
You're clicking the pen over there, Dane. I'm waiting for you to jump in here. Sorry.
If you ask William Nylander, he thinks he's exactly worth just as much as Mitch Marner is.
Is he though? Is he though?
In my opinion, I don't think he's been able to prove himself this year because he hasn't played to see if he is at the same caliber as Mitch Marner. So does that hurt him or does that affect the...
But even last year looking at it, or do you think they're the same last year?
I've always been a pretty big Mitch Marner guy. I think they're kind of similar players, to be honest. I think Mitch Marner's a little bit more of like a Patrick Kane kind of player. You know, shifty, small, fast. But I'm at the point where I don't know how much does William Nylander really love hockey? Does he love the lifestyle of being an NHL player? I mean, he has a chance to win a cup in Toronto. They have the foundation there. I mean, you don't have to sign a long-term deal. Have confidence in yourself. Sign a bridge-term deal for the $6 million that Dubas is willing to give you. The guys that don't make even $7 or $8 million, and you want $8 million, like, you have no leverage. You have no leverage. Toronto hasn't missed you this year. They're still doing quite well without Matthews and you right now. Marner's tearing it up right now while you're gone. You're becoming a forgotten soldier out there. Well, and the thing is, if you don't sign before that December 1st thing, then that relationship is ruined. And Toronto doesn't have to trade you before that. Kyle Dubas is not going to trade you until a deal makes sense.
He can keep you for 4 years. Yeah,
so he will wait until he gets a deal. It is crunch time because if nothing happens before December 1st, then my God, we are in for a gong show. We are in for a gong show because that is not good. You got a 21-year-old, 22-year-old player that's going to sit out the whole NHL season because he's not getting $8 million. Boo-hoo. I trade him. I think that's terrible character on his part.
That's exactly it.
That being said, how much is Marner and Matthews getting paid? So I think you're going to obviously he's
10
relating
each.
that. So if you're going to pay, but is that fair to Nylander if he's only getting paid 6 and those two get paid 10? I don't think that's fair to him. I don't think he's $4 million less of a player than those two. So maybe he does have a valid point.
Is Matthews $4 million better?
Because there's no.
You must think that's our.
Well, if Matthews can play a full season and doesn't miss 20 every year, maybe we can see if he's worth that much money. Yeah, I think the guy's incredible. I think Marner's incredible. I think Nylander maybe has a potential to be that good. He's not playing. I think the whole situation is they should have signed him last year. They should do the George McPhee, sign guys a year before their contract's out. And then instead of, that last year before their contract's out and they have this crazy deal.
Or do what Boston did, obviously, with Pasternak, whatever the hell they did there.
Yeah, but,
tricked them or something.
I think there has to be something with Marner, Matthews, and Nylander where there's not that sense, maybe what you've seen with Eberle, Nugent Hopkins, and Hall obviously didn't work out, but they all signed $6 million contracts. They all signed the same deal. Taylor Hall and Nugent Hopkins were first overall picks. Eberle wasn't, but they were the core of the hockey team and still signed similar contracts. I think that every deal was the same annual salary. Where now you look at it, I think all the agents, are talking to Dubas here and there, and nobody's kind of working together, which I think is making it really hard for Dubas right now because. Yeah, these guys want this much money, this guy wants this much money. I think if you just paid everybody $8.5 million, maybe Matthews a little bit more, $9 million, but you're not going to pay Nylander that. So I don't know. So I'm not an NHL GM. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea how it's going to turn out.
Well, it's a predicament that Toronto needs to get resolved, as they said on Sportsnet. You know what? I know you may disagree, Justin, but I think this is something that they get resolved this year. I think Dubas is on the clock with this a little bit because, and this is the kind of the predicament I would like to see in a dreamland. Okay, I honestly think Toronto trading Nylander for top D is a very wise decision. I like Colby Armstrong's analogy on it. I know Nick Kyprios went to the mantra of going with Brandon Montour and Nick Ritchie were the two players. I see what Nick is saying with that, but I like what Colby Armstrong said about getting Colton Parayko in there. That one stud defenseman and the one stud forward. I kind of like and grew on that a little bit, but I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. Okay, but I'm saying that's the kind of trade maybe you look at. If you look at Carolina, you're looking at, I think Folk should be in there, but if not, I heard a lot about Jakob Slavin being in there. And then you got a winger in there like Julian Gauthier. I really don't like that. I think getting a top guy would be good, but having Nylander move out wouldn't be a bad thing because somebody that has already been in the media and connected to Tampa and Toronto is Artemi Panarin for the rental this year at the deadline. Why not move Nylander? Get a defenseman, have a defenseman in there. Get the deadline, you bring in Panarin, and that's who plays with Matthews after the deadline.
Interesting thing will be to see how first-year GM Dubas, how aggressive he gets with the trading or signing, because
pretty aggressive when he was here.
I mean, I think as a first-year GM, there's a lot of pressure to not let this slide into and past December.
Yeah, I don't think
1st.
I think Shanahan has his hand in the pot.
I honestly think with this situation, at some point, and maybe it's been said, and maybe it's not something for Dubas to say, but maybe for something where Shanahan gets involved, they got to tell Nylander's dad to fuck off. Like, actually, like, are you playing hockey or is your kid? Are you your kid's agent or is his agent? You know, like, stop. It's Louis Gross is his agent.
Okay, yep. I don't even need to ask producer Ghost for that. Okay.
No, I got that one. I've been hearing enough Nylander stuff where my dog knows that Louis Gross is his agent. Like that. But, and Gretzky touched on this the other day on Leafs Lunch, where at some point you understand you want to listen to your parents because your parents want the best for you, but you also got to look at it from a parent-child perspective where your parents are always going to push for you to get the maximum success. So your dad obviously thinks you're worth $100 million over 10 years because
he's your dad.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah. My dad still thinks I'm worth that, I think.
I don't, like, unless you are, like, Jack Eichel or Auston Matthews or Connor McDavid, I don't know what guy comes out of his entry-league contract, unless you're Leon Draisaitl, but I happen to think, maybe this is a little biased, that Leon Draisaitl is a good hockey player, really good hockey player, and I think, $7.5, $8 million is going to be chump change down the road. I mean, it's kind of
he's making 9.5 though, Draisaitl.
But there's
no, he's not. It's 8.5. What is it? It's 8.5, 7.5.
But there's a lot of guys on Toronto that took a bridge and bet on themselves.
But it's different. Like, Draisaitl had leverage. They offered him a contract like that. Toronto's not doing that. No. They have too many prospects where you have 2 guys in Edmonton where Toronto has 4 guys. And if you want to make it work, somebody's going to have to, But Nylander's not willing to be one of the guys that's going to take the pay cut.
To me, like, if I'm the GM, I'm really questioning Nylander's heart.
Does he really want to play hockey, like Dane said?
Like, I'm more than willing to pay Mitch Marner an extra $2 million a year just because he shows up. Like,
he's a big impact in that locker room.
Well,
Mitch.
look at the kids.
Look at with Marlowe. They had that video today when they carpool. Was that Matthews in the back too?
With Marlowe's kids.
They were singing.
They were singing YMCA.
Oh, that's it. Was that Marlowe's? That's Marlowe's kids. Yeah, okay.
That's
little Daddy Marlowe.
There's some team camaraderie there. And I mean, even on Instagram, like Kasperi Kapanen posted a picture of him with his like very monotone face. And Mitch Marner commented underneath, it's like, oh, when you get a shitty gun from a balloon in Fortnite. Like, that's funny stuff. Like, these guys have a camaraderie going on, and the less and less you see of them is commenting on Nylander stuff.
That's something I wanted to add. Like, I haven't watched a whole lot of, like, post-game interviews or just interviews in general, but I have not really heard a lot of Maple Leaf players speak, and maybe they've been told behind closed doors not to be speaking about the Nylander situation, but I haven't heard, Marner or Matthews be like, oh, I miss my buddy.
Matthews definitely wouldn't say anything either because he's so quiet.
Outside of training camp, if the fellas aren't, really talking about you or...
You're not at camp. I'm transitioning here quick, but look what happened with Le'Veon Bell not showing up and sitting out the rest of the year.
Yeah, they stole everything out of his
locker. We said that on the show yesterday. We were talking about our pocket. Crazy. They don't give a damn. And Bud Dupree Savage on Instagram said, thanks for the Air Jordans, Bud, and puts them on. Like, here's a big F you to the face to Le'Veon Bell, but I'm not saying that's what's going to happen to William Nylander. I think we got different players here and different attitudes. But
that's a whole other thing we could go into.
Yeah, that's a whole. We're not
screwed on contracts in the NFL.
Now we'll stop there with the William Nylander thing. We can go on forever. One more thing I want to bring up with you, Justin, before you go. Nylander, we'll see hopefully by next week what happens there. Maybe something will actually be done. It's getting to crunch time with this, and maybe there'll be a resolution. I hope if he's re-signed, I'm fine with it. Traded, I'm fine with that. Sitting out, I'm not fine with that. But Auston Matthews skated today with the team. The team is in San Jose tonight. They're finishing the California road trip. They play San Jose, then they play Anaheim tomorrow in the back-to-back. You got to think that Sparks is going in maybe potentially in one of the games. I'm going to say he goes, obviously tonight is, from what I understand, is Freddie tonight. So you got to think maybe Garrett goes tomorrow. But anyways, Matthews skating, a little bit of bright side. I hope they don't rush his injury because they don't need to rush it. Take the 4 weeks. If that is December 10th, whatever, I don't know, is it December something? It's like December 1st to 10th.
Well, I mean, if they wanted to have him back around my birthday, that'd be great. I'll take that one.
When's the birthday? I don't remember.
December 8th.
December
I think
8th?
we play Boston that night.
Oh, he's back. That's
He
the night he's
better
coming back.
be.
That's the night he's coming back. How's that?
It's good. I can't
8
have
days before my birthday.
Here we are.
Oh, look at that. You guys are December
birthdays around here.
December birthdays.
I don't know how we haven't made that.
A thing.
Yeah.
We might
We
make
mostly
that a
host
thing.
them Christmas
Connection.
presents.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll try to get
I find
that.
because it's just before, 9 days before Christmas that everybody's in the shopping spirit, and I actually get good birthday
stuff.
presents. Or I did, anyways.
You see, well,
So-
sometimes you get but there's a couple misses. I've had a couple hard misses over time.
Maybe I'll get you a nice hat. Another hat for Christmas.
We gotta get some Game Sports Show hats.
Get some hats. Justin, I'm going to let you go. Now we'll go into break. Producer goes to tell me to go into break so that it could just be you and I, Dane, to open up the next part of the show as we got some more hockey to talk about. And then we got a round table that will feature Major League Baseball and maybe some other sports if we have time. We did only have scheduled 45 minutes on the show. We were hitting the 45-minute mark, so we got about 15 minutes left in the show, Dane, to talk. We got bought in another 15 to 20 minutes to go there. So, listeners, we were wrong about 45 minutes, so we're going to be about an hour and 5 minutes. Justin, I want to say thanks for coming on by here tonight. You have fun at the movies tonight. Go see Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, we'll let you know how it is next week.
I know
Or
how it is.
Sunday.
I know how
Sunday?
it is. I've seen
Oh,
it.
yeah, you guys
I've
saw
seen it. A good movie. Very good movie. I'll expect the text when you're done the movie. Very good movie. Justin, we will see you for the special edition maybe this weekend. And once again, thanks for coming by to Justin. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dane and I will wrap up the show here at Northern Superior Brewing Company. Don't go anywhere.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Play Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsioux.as.me-. The Salon, making the Sioux beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Superior Pro Shop. The Superior Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Superior Pro Shop, for over 40 years, meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Hi, this is Paul Maurice from the Winnipeg Jets, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McCaig, alongside Dane Hanchrow for the remainder of the show. I want to say thanks to Justin Hykel for taking the time to come on by. He has left early, as you all know, to go to the movies. Everyone has plans outside of work, and here on the Game Sports Show, we like to provide there's life outside of work. Dane knows that. for 6 months.
Yes.
There is. We had a lot of discussion here. We took up a lot of time that was only slotted to be 45 minutes, but producer Ghost has bought us another 15, 20 minutes, Dane. So we're going to get through the remaining points of the show that we haven't touched on yet. And the one that I want to jump into right away here for part 3 of the show here tonight from Northern Superior Brewing Company's Thursday edition of the Game Sports Show. Joe Bowen got inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame in terms of media. Joe Bowen is well known for his famous catchphrase, Holy Machina. Joe Bowen's also a friend of the show, friend of mine, also been on the show almost a handful of times, and a listener of the show. So, Joe, that is definitely great to see and well-deserved, most definitely. And Joe will be receiving the Hockey Hall of Fame 2018 Foster Hewitt Memorial Award with his induction. These plaques will be displayed on the SO Great Hall in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You can check out the article that was published by yours truly on the Game Sports Show Facebook page for entirety of explanation for the Joe Bowen's big day getting inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Joe for sure. That is fantastic. Well-deserved, don't you think, Dane? Definitely well-deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. Ever since I've been a wee lad there, growing up, forced to watch Maple Leaf games because I wasn't able to stay up late enough to watch the Oilers games when I was younger, as much as I would like to. But yeah, Mr. Holy Mackinac himself, definitely a great thing, well-deserved. And yeah, happy for the friend of the show there, Mr. Joe Bowen.
Definitely awesome. We plan to have Joe on again sometime in the very near future, potentially after Christmas is what we are planning to reach out for, especially when it gets around close to trade deadline time like we had Joe on last year for that. It's going to be very interesting getting to that, as you heard in our previous part here in part 2 of the show when we talked about Toronto. Definitely a lot of news coming out of there, and Joe Bowen is always the thick of things in there on scene with the Leafs. So Joe will be on the show in the very near future. Looking forward to that, and definitely well-deserved again for Joe Bowen. Congratulations on getting inducted, my friend. Moving on from Joe Bowen, and as I said, you can check out that article on the Game Sports Show Facebook page. Make sure you follow that page and like that page. We have another piece of news in the National Hockey League with Carl Hagelin and Tanner Pearson getting traded. Now, the piece of news why I want to touch into this, Dean, is this is where the domino effect happens in LA and in Pittsburgh. I'll repeat it again. And in Pittsburgh. I know a lot of people are going to be very surprised to hear that maybe I said Pittsburgh in that.
I mean, it's about that time of the season where teams are maybe pushing the panic button a little bit early. This is definitely not that kind of trade, but yeah, definitely starts setting things into motion there. And yeah, I think they're, with all the injuries that we were speaking about previously in the show or earlier in the night there, yeah, maybe we'll start seeing a couple more trades. I think as far as this trade goes, Tanner Pearson really struggling at the start of this season. I think he only has 1 point in 16, 14 games. I'm not sure how many games he's been slotted in the lineup. I think it's a bit of a salary dump for LA as well.
Just under half a dozen years. I think there's about 4 years left on his contract at 3.5.
Yeah, and I think a change of scenery. I think if you're a player that's struggling and want to go revitalize your career, I think Pittsburgh's generally a good place to go. You never know. You can play on a line with Crosby or Malkin. You're bound to pick up points. And Tanner Pearson being a plus 40-point guy, I think in the last 2 seasons definitely has the ability to put the puck in the back of the net and be I would even say like a top 9, top 6 kind of forward there. So I think it's a good trade. I think Pittsburgh inevitably wins the deal. I think it makes their team a little bit better. I think LA is just probably trying to dump some cap. Carl Hagelin's a free agent next year. I could 100% see LA dealing Hagelin at the deadline, maybe for a draft pick or something, based off how their season's going right now. Maybe might be sellers and try to revamp the team. Obviously, they still have their core with Kopitar and Doughty there, so. I think a couple little fixes here and there, and Hagelin get a couple draft pick or something, but at the deadline might be kind of the direction that they're going.
That's why I find it interesting, and no, I don't think this is going to happen, but I find it interesting if Toronto is willing to dangle Nylander and Gardner for Doughty. I wonder if that is actually a thing, because Gardner's a free agent. LA can dangle that. I think there's more to that trade a little bit if that did happen. But Nylander again, LA can restart like a contract that's $7.5 million. Gardner, you get another guy. You're basically getting two guys for one who put up numbers. It almost makes it interesting of why I said domino effect. More so, and I said Pittsburgh because they haven't had the season that they want to yet. But it's still early. They're still a very good hockey team. But I think LA is where the domino effect is going to be the biggest.
I don't see a team, LA, trading Drew Doughty 12 or 20 games into his 8-year contract that he just signed.
Yeah.
7-8 year contract. So, I mean, the Leaf fans would love.
I'm not saying that's how. That's a lot of money. I don't think I'd like to see that. It's a lot of money.
Automatically, if Nylander goes anywhere, it's gonna have to. It's for a defenseman.
It is. But we're backtracking. We're backtracking there. But Doughty, I don't think that trade's gonna happen. But I think maybe they would be open to it. Maybe they would be open to it.
I think just the Pearson for Hagelin's just kind of an odd deal. It's nothing more than a salary dump to make some room for LA, and I think Pittsburgh just looking for a guy to maybe, bust out on Crosby or Malkin's line there and, help them go for another cup kind of down the road.
So does this mean that this is how the NHL is just going to be trying to move those salaries out, try to get to that point? Is this going to be an active trade year then, you think, Dane?
I think if you look at a couple teams that, you look at Chicago, they handicap themselves, with the cap for a couple years, and I think they finally look like they've freed up space. Can Patrick Laine and Jonathan Toews play up to that $10 million contract that they're getting for the foreseeable future and be very productive players and bring them back to another Stanley Cup? Time will tell. I think they got good guys in the system with the brink at. I think they have room to make some deals and kind of revamp their team, and I think LA is kind of looking at that the way that they're doing things right now, and maybe trying to open up a couple dollars to revamp their team a little bit, because obviously, say what you want, maybe it's Jonathan Quick. I know I have Anze Kopitar in my playoff or my hockey pool, and he is not playing very well right now. I think he has 6 points or 8 points in 18 games or something like that. So there's a lot of guys on LA that aren't producing, and I think LA is a bit of a dumpster fire right now as far as contracts and injuries and everything. They just fired their coach. There's a lot of things going on in LA right now, and I think I don't know what the dressing room's like right now. Maybe just people need change of scenery. So I think the first kind of relevant trade of the season every year kind of is the fire starter for other trades that come. It kind of opens up the phone lines start opening up a little bit more, and
can get to that saying now. Will it start it? That's how it start.
You got to look at it in the sense that maybe some teams wait too late in the year to make that move that maybe could change their whole season for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe
they hold on to that team that they had open day roster, and that's the team they were confident that things are going to turn around, and then it's the deadline and
you're like, holy shit,
at that 10th to 8th, not quite in a playoff spot, and maybe if you make those deals earlier in the year, it's
put you over the hump.
So I'm not sure what the NHL trends going in, or maybe that deadline starts a little bit earlier than the normal deadline, or you got big trades earlier in the year. But
couple things, Dave. Moving on, we still have to talk about our reaction this year in terms of so far in the year about overachievers. Surprising teams, with that, underachievers and meeting expectations. And then before we conclude the show, we're going to be discussing about Major League Baseball, with the awards being handed out with the Cy Youngs, etc. So we're going to discuss that. Those are probably the last topics we're going to be able to touch on based on time. We're about 9 minutes and 45 seconds into part 3. We have no more than 10 minutes left, so to boogie on going forward. You and I both are going to pick a team that is overachieving, underachieving, and meeting expectations. Okay, and to start with that, I will start with that right off the hop. A team that I feel is meeting expectations so far this year, I think, is pretty obvious. I'm going to go with the Nashville Predators. They were a team that people knew would be one of the top teams in the Western Conference. I feel that they're meeting those expectations, being 13-4-1. They are performing up. They're leading off where they were last year, but they did lose to Winnipeg and weren't able to move on to the conference finals against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So to be 13-4, having the injuries now this year, good teams find ways to win. It will really test the Nashville Predators, in my opinion, to see if they're still that team that is a good team, and if they can win without PK being in there, Arvidsson being in there, and deal with the commotion about Austin Watson returning to the league and to the team. If they can get through that and continue this pace that they're going on, I think they are the team that is going to be reckoned with in the Western Conference. Now, the team that I think is overachieving, and this is very difficult to me because I don't. It was a toss-up between Buffalo, Montreal, the New York Islanders. I kind of want to throw Minnesota in there as well, and I also want to throw the Vancouver Canucks in there. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go this route, and I'm surprising that I'm gonna say this, but I am gonna go with the Montreal Canadiens as being my team that is overachieving. I know they're 9-6, I know Buffalo's 10-6, and there's some teams that are doing better, but I thought Montreal's record would be complete opposite of what it is now, and I thought it'd be an absolute joke there in Montreal this year. And not because I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. I mean this. Not being a fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs, I mean this as a fan of the sport and a sports media expert, that the Montreal Canadiens are overachieving this year. They've played some good hockey. They're 4-5 in their last 10, don't get me wrong, but they came out of the gate hot. They're a team that works hard, and Bergevin actually put a team on the ice that's pretty exciting to watch this year. But that's the only credit that I'll give Marc Bergevin in terms of this podcast any further. I've already given credit for him for getting Max Domi. That's it. I still think Bergevin needs to go in Montreal, but Montreal is the team that I think is overexceeding. Now, underachieving this year, I'm going to go with the St. Louis Blues. I'm not going with Vegas or the Los Angeles Kings. Those are the teams that were sticking out to me. St. Louis, when they made all the moves that they did this year, bringing back Perron, having Bozak there, and making the moves that they did. Some of the guys that aren't playing that well, those big top guys, they're 6-7. I don't know how Yo hasn't been fired yet, to be honest with you. I really think that the St. Louis Blues are the team that should be higher than what they are. You have the Colorado Avalanche, who arguably could be a team that's overachieving as well, being 9-6. That's where St. Louis, I figured they would be top 3 in that division at this current point in the year. So those are my 3 teams in terms of surprising, underachieving, and surprising, underachieving, and meeting expectations. Dane, how about you?
I think status quo for most of the teams at the top of their division. Lightning, Predators, Sharks. So I think as far as the 3 divisions, the Metropolitan Division there, I think would be the surprising. I think it's upside down if you want to go as far as teams underachieving.
Yeah.
You want to look at the Devils, Pens, Hurricanes, and Capitals are all at the bottom of the division, whereas those would probably have been the 4 teams that I would have had at the top of the Metropolitan Division. Surprising teams, I'm going to continue with the Metropolitan Division. New York Islanders.
Oh, wow.
You lose your franchise player in John Tavares. I think they slide down the standings a little bit. They're not quite the offensive juggernauts that they were last year. Score a lot of goals, couldn't keep the puck out of the net was their problem. But if you look at this year, and I will even get a little bit more specific about surprising, is Thomas Greiss and Leonard. The play of those 2 goalies right now is unreal. I think Thomas Greiss's save percentage is about .930. Goals against is under 2. Leonard's playing the best hockey of his career to start a season. Just surprising to me. I mean, a team that struggled so mightily defensively last year. I think they had to have been in the bottom 2-3 in goals against last year, and they're I think they're 9-5 right now, and they're doing pretty good. So I don't know if they're going to be able to 9-6-2. But goals against only 44. I think that has to be in probably in the top 5 in the NHL right now. I have to give credit to the 1A and 1B and on the island there with Greiss and Leonard playing out of their minds right now, and it's kind of good to see the Islanders, losing Tavares. It hasn't really dampened their spirits, and Anders Lee and Barzal and Bailey kind of carrying the load without Johnny T there while he's off in Toronto and Holland there.
So, honestly, Dane, out of these other teams you mentioned are surprising teams. Who keeps it up?
Who keeps it up?
Because, to be honest, the team that I mentioned being surprised, I don't think will keep it up with the Montreal Canadiens. So, out of any team that's really a surprise keeping it up this year, I think the team that you have to go with is Colorado Avalanche. In my opinion, I feel like that's a team that had wild card expectations, but I feel like they can make the playoffs in a top 3 potentially the way that they could play. I'm kind of liking what Colorado's putting on the ice. I still think in net they could improve, but I think if there's one team that's going to keep it up, it could be Colorado.
Yeah, I already have Colorado in the playoffs. I think McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen they're destined for each other. I don't think a lot of people even knew who Mikko Rantanen was last year, not until at least halfway through the season, where he started putting up big points. But my team that I think is actually going to be like that, I would say surprising in the sense that they weren't that good last year, is the Buffalo Sabres. I mean, you can only be so bad for so long and obtain all these good prospects, and I think they made a good deal getting Skinner. I think Jack Eichel is primed for a big season this year. You got Ristolainen and Dahlin. I haven't heard much about Dahlin. He's had a bit of a slow start, but 10-6. I mean, that's the best start to a season that the Buffalo Sabres have had, and I can't even tell you how long. So, but I think the Sabres they're gonna be good. They're a team that is on the uprise. You got 2 first overall picks with Eichel and Dahlin. You got your core there, and I think I think they're probably even maybe ready to give the Maple Leafs a little bit of run for their money in the next couple of years.
Buffalo has always had the potential to make a team and have a team like this ever since Jack Eichel entered the league. So everyone chirps Jack about being the guy that's the GM and about that and all that in Buffalo, but I think Buffalo is starting to turn things around.
Wikipedia Jack Eichel, I think it used to say anyways that he was the head coach, GM, captain.
He's everything there.
Pretty much.
Skinner was a great move, and they got him for next to nothing, too. It was a great trade. I don't know where some other teams were on that trade. No hints given there. But anyways, moving forwards, we're going to wrap up our hockey talk here, Dane. We talked a lot there. I will remind listeners that we will be talking about local hockey with the Sault Thunderbirds and the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in our special edition upload, which will be brought up on Sunday night or Monday morning, powered by Northern Superior Brewing Company and the new sports bar in town, Ice Breakers. Now, Dane, we can get to the last topic of the show. We won't have time to talk about any more topics after this, as we only have a couple minutes left here, so just going to quickly go through the baseball awards with some reaction here on who, won the awards. Okay, and today the MVPs were given out for the awards, and those went to Christian Yelich and to Mookie Betts, to the NL and the AL for the MVP. So now Mookie Betts, obviously, with the Boston Red Sox winning the World Series against the Dodgers. Then you have Yelich, who had a pretty good season with the Milwaukee Brewers and getting past the Cubs to get further on in the playoffs, and the season the run that they had there at the end. Yelich definitely had a well-deserved season with that. And then you go over to other players that made it as a finalist. Mike Trout made it as a finalist once again for the AL, which definitely could have been considered. But Mookie Betts having a strong season for the Boston Red Sox, who won the World Series. Now, if you're Mookie Betts and the Boston Red Sox or Christian Yelich and the Milwaukee Brewers, Dane, do you think that these players can duplicate the success going into next year? And which player do you think can do it the most?
I think you gotta look at Mookie Betts. Guy's a stud. Won the World Series this year, as long as they're not having a World Series hangover. I think the guy's been pretty consistent over the last couple of years, so don't see why he won't be in the exact same position he was the past following years next year.
Going to the Cy Young Award winners, Jake DeGrom from the New York Mets and Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays. Snell, who was a highly touted prospect for Tampa, had a very impressive year, having under 2-point ERA. Now Snell in Tampa Bay not having the success this year that they wanted. but they're a pretty respectful ball club still. And same with the Mets, with that strong pitching core that they have for DeGrom to come through, and the strong pitching. The NL, you're going against the likes of Clayton Kershaw, you're going against the likes of Max Scherzer, you're going against the likes of Madison Bumgarner, was definitely extremely impressive. And Blake Snell is a young kid, a kid that is, looking at it now, saying going into next year with a lot of expectations. Out of these two guys, I really think Blake Snell is the real deal. I think Jake DeGrom's the real deal as well, but to duplicate their success, I think Blake can really build off this. He's still young with a lot of years to go, and Tampa Bay has another good pitcher there. They always seem to get good pitchers, which is Archer, which is David Price. If you want to go to the other pitchers that have been there before, now Blake Snell comes to the rise to be the ace over there in Tampa. Congratulations to Betts, Yelich, DeGrom, and to Snell. And the MLB is going into an offseason I think is going to be real busy. And Dane, one piece of news that I definitely want to bring out that has already been happening, Manny Machado's camp has already been in discussion with the New York Yankees. The evil empire.
Yeah, sounds about right. If it is in LA, it's New York, right? So one evil empire to the other. So
there was a free agent prediction that was brought up by it was MLB Network Studio on Sirius XM, and here were the predictions just to wrap up the show. And I like these predictions. People predicted Michael Brantley to the Braves. They predicted Manny Machado to the Philadelphia Phillies. They predicted J.A. Happ to stay in New York. Greg Kimbrell to go back to the Atlanta Braves. Dallas Keuchel to go to Washington. Bryce Harper to stay in Washington. And Yasmani Grandal to go over to the Houston Astros. Just to name a few potential moves to occur in the MLB this year. You could check out that picture that the MLB Network Radio on Sirius XM has predicted. To be honest, I find it very interesting about Bryce Harper staying in Washington. I still think there's potentially he gets moved, but Machado's the one that stands out the most. I really think he is going to the evil empire, which is really unfortunate. But I would love to see him go over to Philly and stay over in the NL because it definitely helps out the Blue Jays as if he doesn't go to Boston or to the New York Yankees. Good season all around for MLB baseball. We've talked a lot of baseball this year. Obviously, the offseason coming up. We will keep in touch with the baseball news and get into more baseball awards when we have more time next week for that. Now, Dane, next week, we do have a couple shows, but before even next week comes, as I mentioned, we have a bonus upload this week with myself, Brad Kochmelio. Hopefully yourself and Justin can be there as well. Next week, we will not have a show at the Wicked Sister on Monday. We will have a show at Sports Center Bar and Grill for Wednesday at 9 p.m. though next week, and we will have a show at Northern Superior Brewing Company next week at 7 p.m. Those times are maybe subject to change as we might be doing an on-location show because the Sioux Thunderbirds are in action. So, Dane, going to be wrapping up tonight's show. I want to say thanks to you for coming on by, for being here. And I'm very happy for you to be back. It's going to be an exciting year, pal.
It is going to be an exciting year.
It's a big year.
Good to be home,
Good to be home. I like that.
This nice winter wonderland that we are been blessed with.
And you're my roommate.
I am your roommate.
We're roommates.
For the last 10 days, and we haven't killed each other.
We haven't. I don't think we will.
Success.
I think that's, when you get past the first 10 days, that's the key thing. The only thing that we may disagree about is hockey in terms of the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So excited for when they play each other. I don't know if you want to come into our house when that game's on. And
I don't know when they play yet.
They actually do play this year. They play February the 27th in Toronto and March 9th in Edmonton. So the first one's at the Scotiabank Arena, the other one's at the Rogers Place in Edmonton.
We should go to Edmonton.
Want to go to Edmonton? We'll do a live location in Edmonton. We'll see if that is in the budget. So producer Ghost is telling me that we are already a couple minutes over 20. We're exactly 4 minutes over 20 minutes. So I need to get to the wrap-up point. Listeners, you're listening to the Game Sports Show, the Twin Sault's only local regional national sports show. You can listen to it on the Podbean page, website, or YouTube channel. Make sure to get a follow to the sports show on Facebook and or Twitter. And also, I want to say thank you to listeners for making us a part of your night. And I want to give a shout out to our sponsors here on the Game Sports Show. Over in Sault Ste. Michigan, the Wicked Sister and Pingator Cleaners. And of course, Eagle 95.1. And in Sault, Ontario, North Shore Sports and Auto. The Salon, the Superior Pro Shop, Discover the Canvas, Northern Quitters in Need, Big Brother, Big Sister, Kemble Laundry Hockey, Silver Creek Golf Course, and Northern Signs. And a shout out to our homes, to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill, and Northern Superior Brewing Company. And as you heard, the Game Sports Show will be doing special edition shows this year at the new sports bar in town, Icebreaker. So that welcomes another sponsor and partner of the Game Sports Show. Lots going on here with the game. And until our special upload this weekend, and until next week, listeners, I want to say thanks to Scott Nason as well. And to you once again, the listeners, for making us a part of your night. Make sure to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.